All right, today I'm excited to welcome Dom Pereira to the show. Dom, thanks for coming on. How you doing today?
I'm well, thank you, Brian. How you doing?
Well, other than being a little tongue-tied there for a second, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Tennessee, and getting going with my interviews for the day. I appreciate, like I said, appreciate you coming on. On the show, we like to talk about people's journeys to where they're at now, twists, turns along the way. But we like to start out with who you are now. So if you could introduce yourself to the audience, let them know who Dom Pereira is, and then we'll talk about how you got there.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, amazing job. You say tongue tied, but I think you Portuguese, man. That's you did a great job on that. So, yeah, about me. So, my name Dominique Teca Farms Pereira. And I mentioned it specifically there because hopefully it'll tie in a little bit later. But the name, I was born in Angola, Africa. I grew up in Philadelphia, PA, though. So I have my roots and cultural background back in Africa, and that always lingered in the back of my head because of some just aspirations of self-knowing and really what I value. But growing up in Philadelphia came with its own set of challenges, and really looking to continue to elevate my quality of life as I got older, and the opportunities that being just really raised in this amazing country gives you. And so I didn't want to take it for granted. I knew where I was from, but I also appreciated where I was at. And
I think
I always,
that's the both of those sides are missing sometimes. I think
yeah,
I think I think people that can really see both of those sides do very well, and people that get stuck on one side or the other, it really hinder them.
yeah. And for me, I was very just fortunate because I some way or another got hit with this entrepreneurial bug to just say, hey, look, let me really take the opportunities that are given to me. So I love technology, and I wanted to explore technology more and more. And ultimately, I went to school for computer engineering at Penn State. I had a hard time paying for school. I couldn't get the grants or the loans. And I ended up just starting to make some websites, some basic websites for people, for businesses, for people starting a podcast or whatever the case. I would just make,
What kind of time frame are we talking here? That you were spinning up sites and in college.
yeah. So this is 20, 2008 to
Okay, so
2012. I was there, and progressively getting better and better every
right.
year. And those $500 websites turned into $1,000, and then $5,000. And now I needed a little bit more help. So I partnered with somebody to help me out, and they became an employee. And by the time I knew it, coming out of college, I had a full-fledged IT and tech firm. And so much so, even while I was in college, I started seeing this growth that I started wondering, wow, this is something that I really should be pursuing more than the traditional 9 to 5, because I'm seeing this growth. And we started doing contracts for larger and larger clients because of my aptitude for just, I'm going to deliver the best project and the best product. That I just had a fervor, like, man, I got one chance at
So
bat. I got a couple swings at it, but I want to make sure that I knock it out the park.
you were going to school for computer engineering, you said, right? Computer
Yes.
engineering. So were you self-teaching yourself the web design, or was that stuff that you were accumulating, or a combination of both?
Man, that's an amazing question. So, yes, it was a combination of both, but it was a very interesting combination. I, because of where I was from, couldn't get a lot of the federal grants and loans and programs, which I could have slumped and cried about it, so to speak. But I'm like, no, at least I'm here. Then they're
Right.
like, you're here, you figure it out though. And there were periods in my college, kind of in the beginning of the semester, you have several weeks to pay the tuition if you don't
Hmm.
have any, grants or financial aid coming your way. So they give you this period of time where you have access to all the course material. But if you don't pay it after a certain point, they're going to cut you off.
Right.
I used to cram the entire 16-week semester in like 3 weeks and just get everything as I could, because I knew that week 3 they're probably going to deactivate me for a couple weeks or a month or two before I had to pay up. And then I was working full time or at some just other jobs, Home Depot, restaurants, just scavenging money like every other broke college student. And this thing that I was doing, now I'm learning just in an expedited pace.
Okay.
And because I knew, I was asking my professors, hey, can I take these midterms 4 or 5 weeks early? Can I take these finals half the semester early? Just because I knew I was on a limited, time frame. And some of them, I'm gracious that they gave me that leniency, understanding my situation. But what that made me do is I would learn something in our curriculum. It wouldn't be really, I mean, college is there's a lot of we could talk about that, but it's not a place that you're going to learn everything at all, because nothing that I learned there now is probably, as far as technology is concerned, it's changed so much that
I was at college in 1997 and was going to take computer programming, and I'm thinking, I would have had to constantly be evolving with that.
Always. And what I started doing is supplementing that with self-learning on YouTube, on just these free online sites, because while my teachers and professors would allow me to do some of the stuff, they weren't going out their way to jump ahead of the syllabus to explain certain things. And so I really did teach myself, but I don't want to downplay it, because I did have the opportunity to be in this institution that almost forced me to teach myself.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was like if it was even just a different side, like you were going to school for computer engineering as in hardware, software development or something like that, and you were building websites on the side, teaching yourself how to do that to supplement the education.
Yeah, just because there were in that same curriculum of hardware, software, you started learning, even though what's hardware specific, you started learning some software aspects of it, and then programming aspects. And I just latched on to the web design aspect of it. And ultimately it did play into a factor, just because the hardware was so much more expensive to get into than spinning out. Anybody with a computer and internet connection can do what I was doing. But you needed, as far as the hardware side, you needed routers and conductors and higher quality machinery to spin up a semiconductor or a chip manufacturing.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you can spin up websites in your dorm room in the evening, and you don't need a factory or something.
Exactly. No, 100%. And ultimately, my company grew. We started doing government contracts. The name of the firm is GCN, Global Computers and Networks. We started doing some government contracts, working with clients all around the country. We got to a point where we're doing $24 million contracts, and just really just growing. It came with a set of challenges, though, because while we were preferred vendors for some Fortune 500 and national brands, then you started seeing, well, it wasn't a one-man operation anymore. It was a 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 people on a payroll, and these engineers aren't cheap. And maybe I should have went to school for business, because my expenses sometimes were outpacing the income.
How did you manage? How did you make that transition? So you started spinning up websites to pay for your tuition, and end up at the end with multiple employees managing an actually very large company. How do you acclimate and learn the business side of that? Because I think there's a lot of people out there doing side hustles that may spiral into something that they don't have that business sense. What's the go-to to get there expediently?
Yeah, Staying humble and and networking with people that know more than you in some aspect. When you own a company, it's very easy to start thinking that you're the smartest guy in the room just because people work for you.
Right.
I was humbled because we made some big financial mistakes, and it wasn't until our office, I'll call her office manager. She was really in particular our bookkeeper that came in, and she was looking and just saying, "Hey, Dom, the way you're doing stuff doesn't make sense as far as the billing. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're not billing people at the right time." And I'm surrounded by these engineers that are just kind of focused on solving the problem and forgetting that we have expenses, right? Like, so
Right.
you can't spend all day working on a problem that we didn't bill for all day at the very least, or bill for it all. And this just sole person then started telling me everything that we were doing from our um, accounting perspective, and we got CPA in because of a networking event that we did and went to. Then I started just going around other people that, and I humbly said, "Hey, I'm pretty good at doing websites. I'm pretty good at doing applications and the engineering aspect. I don't even know how to market to clients. Everything that I'm getting is um, direct referrals or just by word of
By
mouth.
luck.
Yeah, by luck, I'm failing forward, and this forward snowball is growing and growing. So now my income's increasing, but my debt, so if I fall, it's a harder fall.
Right.
And yeah, there were some learning lessons there, but ultimately going to genuine networking events of other small businesses. And I say genuine because I'm not talking about spending 12 grand on some guru conference or flying across the country or to Vegas to make it to a growth conference.
Right.
No, I'm talking about your local business, small business of commerce or whatever events, and talking to people in your community, in your business communities, and just saying, what issues are you guys coming up with and how have you solved it in your own relative businesses, and just listening.
Right.
And before our show, here, our episode, you and I were just talking a little bit. Ultimately, I grew my technology company. I ended up getting into real estate as well, just
Hmm.
because we lost some money on a pretty big high. I don't want to ever be that over leveraged again because one of our larger clients went bankrupt. And that was kind of the wake up call for me because I was believing they're going to pay these invoices. We kept doing work. We kept doing work. They're going to pay these invoices. They ultimately went bankrupt and were offering maybe 3 cents on a dollar, if that,
You needed to
for
get into something that you weren't relying on someone to pay their bills.
exactly. And just diversifying, not having all the eggs in one basket. But then I started saying, "Hey, look, I like real estate, but I really love being outside. I've spent so much time behind a computer. I've spent so much
Hmm.
time chasing. And to be very transparent, when I started growing the technology firm, I wanted as much money as I could make. I mean, give me $1 billion if I can,
Right.
and maybe that's if that's in the cards, great. But as you start having those highs and lows, you start really appreciating what it is that you really look forward to because you are in rooms where some of our clients are very wealthy,
Right.
and I'm like, man, they're still not happy. Right? So if I
Right.
make it to that level, I don't want to be not happy. Right? So maybe I need to change the barometer for what success is for me, and that's how I started stress relieving with agriculture and farming. I mentioned that to say once I got into real estate, okay, now I'm a little bit diversified from my technology business.
Hmm.
I bought some properties. Okay, they're cash flowing, but even if they're not, my technology business is supplementing when the technology isn't doing that well. Let me at least make sure everything's rented, so that's helping. So it's a two-legged stool there. But and then we needed to add, other. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I tried other ventures, and I decided to um, put the technology, the real estate kind of together, or my business acumen kind of together to buy a farm, which is still a real estate play. But now I'm really focusing on agro-tourism, not just the farming, because farming in this country right now is a little bit difficult. The
Yeah.
finances don't make sense. But
Right.
when there's a problem, there's an opportunity. And
Mhm.
because we solve so many problems in the technology side, I'm like, all right, how can we automate certain things? How can we use our digital marketing skills and everything that we know about the internet and marketing to elevate this farm from just being a blueberry farm to now multiple?
Is that where you're growing, is blueberries?
Yeah, so we're growing blueberries. The name of the farm is Teca Farms. I'm here, um, getting ready. But we're growing blueberries. We're doing organic
Nice.
vegetables and herbs as well. We're trying to expand it more for a family fun experience, right? Like
Nice.
some people will pay you more to come and look at your vegetables than they will to buy them,
Or
honestly.
pick them
Or pick them
themselves.
yourself. Yeah, exactly. We do. You pick blueberries,
Yep.
but there's only so many blueberries that people want to pick. Outside of that, then they're taking the Instagram photos and
Right.
everything. But we're on 400 acres right now in New
Wow.
Jersey,
Wow.
and then we also I also have a goat farm in Texas.
Oh,
So
nice.
we got a couple hundred goats there. So we're trying to just really stack these verticals, learning from one business and applying it to the other. And we've had some success in the goat farm in Texas. That's why I felt confident that we would roll that into the New Jersey venture. But I say that because before we started, you and I were talking about some agriculture and farming, and just me talking to you, I picked up a couple things that you taught me about.
Right.
And
Well, and that was the weird part. Was I looked at your profile when we were going to connect on Podmatch, and I saw your entrepreneurship, the fact that you came here, you were undocumented as a child, which made it tough for you with college grants and all of that. And just as a flyby at the bottom, it was like, oh yeah, I own a 400-acre farm in New
yeah,
Jersey, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, because I don't know if how much the listeners know about my background. I usually talk about the guests, but currently I'm in a RV full time. We had a farm in Minnesota, and we hated the cold, so we sold the farm and went into the RV, and we were traveling around, and an opportunity came up in Tennessee to work for a friend, and so we're developing an off-grid property on some acreage here in Tennessee. So we started just bantering about that, and it's our worlds collided because we're just talking about our experiences.
it's very much so. And what you're doing, even though it's in a different state, it aligns so much with what we're doing. And maybe I can learn something from you on the successes and the challenges that you've come across, and vice versa. But
And
you
introductions
can't,
too.
as the yeah, it's introductions, it's everything. So that when you're asking the original question of how do you learn that business side, well, you have to speak with people, you have to listen to
Listen.
people, and listening, but letting them know where you're at honestly, and without pride, right? Just because you have somewhat of a successful business or some growth, there's some challenges, and sometimes we don't like to admit that. We don't. We want people to see this facade and veneer of like, wow, you have this beautiful farm. It looks amazing. You have these. You pick blueberries. You have these goats. You have this. I'm like, yeah, but let me tell you what I also have. I have no
Right.
plan. I don't know. I don't know anything about cover crops. I don't know anything about this and that, and silver pasture. And like
Right.
we had so many goats die on us, or whatever. Somebody might just say, "Oh yeah, but are you, rotational grazing or whatever the
Right.
case is?"
Right. Or have you talked to this guy, or have you listened to
Or
this presenter?
exactly. So when you do that and you come with a level of hey, here's the paths that I've already tried. That way people
Right.
know that you're not just coming with problems and whining about it, but you're
Yeah.
actively trying to solve it, right? Because we're all busy. So if it's not a problem for you and you haven't read a book or watched some free YouTube videos on it, then I'm not going to waste my time trying to solve your problem unless you're paying me. But if we're genuinely exchanging ideas, that's been, I think, the biggest additive to the success stories that I've
Well,
seen.
yeah, and so I come from like the cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin space and blockchain and proof of work, and it really lends itself to a value for value ethos and putting value out there or being willing to put value out there. People are way more receptive to giving you value back. I think if you can put it out there without expecting anything back, people are very open to helping.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what's helped me is on my platform. I just speak the good and the bad of what it is to be an entrepreneur, and um, we've had a lot of people reach out. And sometimes the biggest challenge that I really have now on the platforms that we're working on is how do we add value?
Right.
I know that I can build applications for businesses and clients. But let's say even on a smaller scale, you get 10 clients a year, and if they're smaller clients, big clients, those that can take up quite a bit of resources. But even if you get 10 clients a year, well, then you're only engaging with those 10 people. But you
Right.
have a lifetime of value and just learning lessons that I encourage people to share that with other people, not just those. Don't just share your skill set with those 10, right?
Right.
Like just open it up and find a way to be constructive to the communities that you're in. And once you are, you start realizing that people are apt to listening and receptive, and they'll start reaching out to you. It'll scale your own business, even if that wasn't the original intent.
Right. You're not hiding any secrets.
No.
We all think we're special. We all think
Yeah.
we're doing some things different. And some people are. I'm not saying there
Mhm.
aren't innovators, there aren't disruptors, but it at the base of it, we're all doing the same shit, man, just a little different way.
Exactly. No, I agree. The analogy that I tell my team is, and other clients and people that I work with on the business side, is there was somebody who was brilliant in realizing, hey, you know what, the most abundant thing in this world is water. What am I going to do? I'm going to bottle it and sell it to people. And now it's like, wait a minute. If you're fortunate enough to live in a first world country, every building you go to has running
Water.
water. And albeit there are some cities that have a problem with clean drinking water, but
Right.
those are the exception. Um, but there's still $1 billion business on the bottled water market.
Multiple companies. Like
That's
you're selling the same product.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the guy who decided to do that first was brilliant, but the true genius was the
The
second
fifth
guy that
guy.
said, "Yeah, right." The second, the third, and fourth guy was like, "We can do that. Do I have to change anything? No, we're gonna do it our own little way. We're not even gonna
It's just
change the
water.
bottle type. You know, like we're gonna
Yep.
all the bottles
Yep.
look alike. The waters are the same. We're just gonna target a different people. So, some people like Poland Springs. Some people like Deer Park. I mean, they're spring, we're park. It's completely different, right? They're
Right.
Poland,
Right.
we're Fiji. Different.
Comes from the same
And so you
faucet.
can choose your own way.
Oh man.
Exactly, right? Like they're all tapping
So
the same well in the middle of the city somewhere.
so we got a little bit of time. You mentioned you did kind of a bunch of different things in between building your site business and getting into the real estate. Is there a favorite little project that you've done? Maybe not the most successful, maybe not the one that made you the most money, but one that's kind of close to you or means the most.
Yeah, I it kind of spiraled out of control a little bit, but I started blogging food and travel.
Okay.
That I enjoyed that a little bit. bit because I wanted to. I was eating out a lot. I was in Austin, Texas. Our business was growing out of there, and I was just eating out, and I love to try different restaurants. So I just started taking the pictures and the videos and blogging about it. That was fun. It didn't stay fun as you start trying to make it a business and orchestrating it with creators, because and then you start realizing that these creators that you're aspiring to get to 100,000 followers, you're broke, and it's not as profitable. So some of them are doing very well, so it's not as profitable as it looks like. But because I started that, it spiraled into me having a restaurant in
Nice.
Austin, and it was a restaurant and an event venue close to downtown Austin, a growing part of the city. That was the funnest aspect of it. If I didn't have my own capital committed to it, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because
Right.
that one cost a lot of money. But restaurants are novelty businesses and vanity businesses. Some people do it very well. I didn't. Um,
It's a very hard. I was in hospitality for 10 years, on
yeah.
the employee side, and
Mhm.
man, there's so many things that can go wrong in the restaurant world that you don't have any control over.
So many things, and we everything that probably, thank gosh we never really had a health scare. But outside of that, even our opening day, my chef that we've spent months getting the restaurant ready and everything, the head chef didn't show up. And I was like, what and where is this guy? You couldn't find anybody. We had to get somebody last minute. And
Oh
so
man.
obviously that cost so much more, but they weren't familiar with the menu.
Oh
And
right.
it just everything. And then there was times that we fell into success, right? There was these periods. I remember when we opened our delivery and Uber Eats and Grubhub, we thought the system was broken. We thought the system, because it just wouldn't stop, and we didn't understand how to take things off the menu, and all these orders started coming in. You think that's a great problem to have because you're selling out. Well, it's not when people already and we don't have it, right?
Right.
And how do you handle refunds? Well, I don't have your money
Right.
refund, but the fact that it's going to be available in a couple of days was outside of our control, right?
A driver coming and driving around, Uber's still got to pay them.
They still got to pay them, and have all of these machines start. So that was a good business at times because vanity, but nostalgia also of just having your friends, family, and when you're in town coming. That was to start. We had events. That was great. Towards the middle, where it's like, okay, man, you can't eat here for free anymore. All right, like you can. So that allure of it kind of washed away quickly.
Everybody
But
wants to come to your restaurant.
now everybody wants to come to the restaurant, and it is really cool from a business standpoint when you are doing. It's like having a yacht, right? Like I've
Right.
never had a yacht, but I can imagine people want to come to the yacht, and you go there. Hey, you can do a lot of business on it. You
Right.
come to the restaurant. I might be building you an app or doing something on the technology or the real estate side. Come to the restaurant. Obviously, my staff is treating you great. I come out, make sure you're good. We sit, we have fun, and then you just walk out. You don't have to worry about the bill. Don't know, like, hey,
Right.
no, I'm telling you straight up, don't worry about it. This is on us. We just appreciate you. And there's something about that feeling, creating that for people, even if they do pay. Like, the payment isn't necessarily even the thing. When they do pay, even just knowing people's names, I can't tell you the number one indicator that we were able to track if people were going to come back and give us, good reviews and how much they spent, is how much they felt that we knew them.
Okay.
Meaning,
Yeah.
if you come in and you walk in the door and it's like, hey, Brian,
Personal
you want your
connection.
table? Like your table's gonna be ready for about 10 minutes. You want that, or do you mind sitting? No, don't worry about it, Liz. All right, let me. You can sit me over there.
You either have to have the food that makes people not give a shit about the atmosphere, or you have to
Yeah,
have on par food with everybody else, because
yeah,
there's a million restaurants. They need to have the experience, and whether that's, like you said, being that personal experience or an off the wall gimmicky thing or whatever you want to go for, everybody's on the same level as food when you're in a certain bracket.
yeah,
Now there's a
yeah.
super high end foods, but man, you realized real quick, I bet, that that experience makes way more difference.
Yes, the experience, because our food was good, but like you said, there's only so good that you can get. You know, but
Right.
in
Without
terms,
being a Michelin 5-star restaurant.
exactly, and then even at that point, I made a couple of them, and I'm like, give me that, $10 burger or something like that,
Right, right.
and I'll be happier versus eating some leaves and a raspberry on top, paying
This big.
$50. Yeah, and I'm like, where's the rest of it? So, and then when you start getting really, really busy, you're inevitably, I believe, your food quality goes down,
Goes
because
down.
there are some restaurants. We were down the street from one of the busiest restaurants in the city at that time, Franklin's Barbecue, and they were selling out every day. So there's only so much care that you can give to each plate,
Right.
and it just becomes a process more than anything. But so that is the business that I enjoyed the most, even though it wasn't particularly fiscally and financially successful for
Right.
me.
Right.
There was something about the last call, whether it's dinner or anything, and just having the people there that
Yeah.
I can sit down and just have. There's something about serving people
Mm-hmm.
that there's just the most human like connection where you're sitting around a table and you curated this environment. People are eating, drinking, and just conversing and talking about themselves, talking about life, talking about whatever, and not feeling rushed, not feeling anything. And some of those people were staff. Some of those people were like, after a
Yep.
long day, we sat, we ate, whatever. But it's, you have this place, and offering that, what was a very unique experience for
I think it's a parallel to just family gatherings that have
me. Yeah,
been ingrained in us for whether it's immediate family or a group of friends or a community, whatever. That gathering of eating, relaxing, and drinking is kind of ingrained in us. So
yeah,
there's a different vibe there.
yeah. No, 100%. So, and so much so, the farm, we took a little bit. Maybe I'll show the shirt here, but it's Teca Farms, a family journey. It
Nice.
is because it is really much about, even now we're trying to curate that same feel that I was able to feel at that point in time in my business career here at the farm, where you don't have to feel like you're coming just to come to the farm store. Just come for the bonfire. Just
Right.
come and walk the trails. Just right, like we'll figure it out. Of course, there's some hard costs associated with running a farm, but I
Yeah.
know, and there's a lot of hard costs. Right? But I know that if I can curate a particular feeling for your visit, we can figure out how I can pay for this thing.
Right. Dom, we're kind of coming up on time. Man, I appreciate you being here. I like to give people the opportunity to be able to find you more. Can you let them know where to find you if they want to look into you, contact you, work with you, maybe visit your farms or whatnot? Plug away, man. The stage is yours. Let me know. Let me know where we can find you.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the conversation. Appreciate the opportunity to tell my story in this format. If you have any questions, my handle across all internets and social medias is Ask Dom That. It pays homage to some of the things that I've done and everything that I know. If you have any questions about real estate, technology, entrepreneurship, agriculture to the degree that I know, just ask Dom that.
Nice. Nice. I see that's the website and all the socials. AskDomThat.com. Ask Ask
Yes.
Dom that everywhere that you can find your social, and definitely I encourage you to check out what he's got going on, and reach out, connect, talk, and like we mentioned today in the show, that's how we learn, and that's how we grow, and that's how we figure out the stuff that we don't know how to do. So, man, ask Dom that. Dom, I appreciate you being here, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
We'll do.